Hi everyone, and welcome to Squirrel Pie Productions, my podcast about knitting, spinning, and sewing. My name's Tommi, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Dynamite Trujillo. Welcome to episode 56 of my podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to any new viewers, and a big welcome back to any returning viewers. Today is a really nice and, as usual, overcast and foggy Friday here in April on the Northern California coast where I'm coming to you from. We do have a Ravelry group for this episode that you should go check out and join if you haven't yet. It is where you'll find giveaway and knit along stuff and also some other fun threads to check out. So head on over to Ravelry. There's a link in the down bar and that'll take you straight there. We do have a knit along running right now. It is the KidAlong and it is coming to a close. This is a knit along that's been going on for a little while where you can make anything for a little kid or a baby or a big kid, a kid or younger. So go check out the Ravelry group. There is an FO thread and a chatter thread, and there's a lot of really amazing things happening in there. And it is running through to the end of April, which is coming up really soon. I am going to draw prizes for that in the next episode, which is going to be 2 weeks from now. So that's going to be a little bit into May, I think. So I'm just going to keep the FO thread open until I record next and draw prizes. So it'll go a little past the end of April. So thank you for everybody who's participated in that. It's been so much fun, and I've been participating too. We do have a new yarn prize that was donated this week. The lovely Amy of Happy Little Yarn donated 2 skeins to the podcast, one for me to keep and play with, and one to give away for the KidAlong. So thank you so much, Amy. So the yarn that we have got from her is right here, and it is so gorgeous. So this green one is called Ornery Ogre, and it is a worsted weight superwash wool and nylon blend. This one is called Flattery, and it's fingering weight superwash merino and nylon. So thank you so much. This is Happy Little Yarn. You can find her on Etsy, and I will link to her in the show notes. She is running a coupon code for you guys right now, so if you want to check out her yarn in her shop, you will get 15% off if you make a purchase from her right now with the code Squirrel Pie. So thank you so much, Amy, for your donation. One of these will be a prize for the knit along, and I cannot wait. We have some really amazing prizes for this knit along, and I will show you guys all the prizes next week when I draw for them. And thank you so much to everybody who's donated. It's really nice and it's appreciated very much. So thank you, Amy. Go check out her shop on Etsy. She's got some really pretty yarns up in her shop right now. So that is KidAlong. If you're interested in following along on Instagram, we're using the hashtag KidAlong. And yeah, again, thank you everybody who's participated. It's been really fun. So what's next? I think we're just going to go straight into the knitting. I'm pretty sure I don't have anything else to talk about. I do have a finished object this week. I finished my Hematite cardigan. This is a cardigan pattern by Lise Mulch, and it is done. I knit this out of Moonstone Dyeworks, which is my hand-dyed yarn company, in the natural merino base, which is my 100% non-superwash Falkland merino organic fingering weight yarn. And it is in the Starships colorway. So I'll get up and show you in a second the whole cardigan, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I am super excited. I used 2 skeins of this yarn, and I used almost every single last bit of it. This is what I have left. So I really wanted to make it as long as I possibly could because I like longer length cardigans for a lot of things. And so I broke into my swatch for these, and yeah, I'm super excited. I used as much yarn as I possibly could. And I did shorten the sleeve length a little bit to allow myself a little more length in the body, because the pattern did call for slightly more yarn than I had, which I totally didn't even like pay attention to before I started the cardigan. and I noticed halfway through that, hey, you should have read that and noticed that you don't quite have enough yarn. So I improvised and it worked out. This is a, what do you call it? It's a garter stitch cardigan. I did make quite a few modifications, but for now, let's take a look at it. So it is an open front cardigan. It only has this 4-button closure at the top. The rest lies open. And yes, I am, if you're new or haven't been watching for a little while, I am pregnant right now. I am 28 weeks pregnant, something like that. I'm getting close to the 3rd trimester. So here it is from the side. It's got these 3/4 length sleeves. Here it is from the back. The back yoke has this kind of alternate garter and stockinette detail. And that is it. So, things about this cardigan. I mostly really like it. I think I maybe might like it better after I'm not pregnant anymore, because it feels a little, I guess it feels a little small, which I'm not used to. I'm a really small person and I'm like 5 feet tall. So I always make like the smallest size of something. And I'm really short, I have a small bust. And so like, I always make the smallest size and it always works out fine. But for this, I think it's supposed to be really fitted anyway. And now I'm bigger than I usually am. So it just feels really stretched and kind of weird. So I think it'll fit a little better after I have my baby. We'll see, I don't know. Something I kind of like about it is I did try it on unbuttoned, which it lays a little funky like that because it's not meant to be worn like that. But right now, I feel like it's a little nicer unbuttoned. So I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how much I wear it right now, just because the fit's a little weird. So the modifications that I made were, sorry, now I have to rebutton. Speaking of buttons, I have learned about myself that the thing that if there's anything that I dislike about knitting, it's sewing on buttons. I found out. I do not like sewing on buttons. I really procrastinated sewing on these buttons. So I waited and I sewed the buttons onto this thing late last night, and I was like grumbling about it the whole time. So anyway, the modifications that I made, the first major modification that I made is in the edging here. In the pattern, it just called for pretty much no edge treatment. It's just garter back and forth. I did an I-cord edge, and I got that idea from somebody else who made this same cardigan and put that in her notes on Ravelry. I really liked it, so I did it too. And to kind of continue the line of that, I also did an I-cord bind off at the bottom, and I think that ended up looking really good. So there was that. Also, so the yoke of this thing, as I said a little earlier, is alternating garter and stockinette stitch, and then as you get into the rest of the body, it's just garter. The sleeves, I did that detail up until I separated for the yoke, or for the sleeves, I mean. And then the rest of the sleeve I did in stockinette, and that is supposed to be garter, but I wanted stockinette on the sleeves. I thought it looked better. I also did ribbing on the cuff, which is not called for. It's just called for pretty much, you're supposed to do garter on the sleeves and then kind of more of this stuff on the cuff of the sleeve. But I didn't do that, so I did ribbing, and I think I like it. Worked out good. What else did I do? Is that it? I think that's all the modifications that I made to it. Something that I kind of am not too crazy about, but it's like not a huge deal at all, is that this raglan increase stopped before you were supposed to separate for the sleeves. So pretty much what I'm used to, and I could be like just not experienced enough. But I feel like with raglan, top-down raglan sweaters, most of the time what I end up doing is increasing up until a certain point, you get to a certain depth, and then you maybe knit a couple rows straight, but you pretty soon, after the increases, separate the sleeves, right? That's kind of how I'm used to it. This thing though, once you are done with the raglan increases, I at least still had a lot of length left to knit before separating for the sleeves. So I knit pretty deep into the length of it, just straight, without increasing before separating for the sleeves. And I had a feeling it was going to do this, and it did. That created these little things here. It's like a little, see the increases stop there and I separated way down here? Well, it created these little like extra pieces of fabric. And I think it looks a little funky. It's not anything that like I feel ruins the thing or that anybody would even notice. But I noticed it. I feel like it looks a little funky, but that's okay. It's like not a huge deal. And I think that's pretty much it. That's everything about this sweater. I mostly am pretty happy with it. It's not my favorite sweater I've ever made. The fit of it and a few of the stylistic things just I think aren't necessarily as much to my taste as I thought they were going to be when I saw the pattern online, because the pattern in the picture looks really great. It fits her really great. And I don't know. I mean, it's a fine sweater. It's just not my favorite. I don't know. I've made a lot of sweaters. I can have some that aren't my favorites, right? So, and the buttons came from a button jar that I have that I got at a thrift store years and years ago that has like 1 billion buttons in it. They mostly match, but they're all a little different. It's really hard to find matching buttons in this jar, but I don't know why I have this jar, and because I have it, I am so reluctant to purchase buttons that I always just like scrounge until I can find something that works. And this works pretty fine. I think they're like shell buttons or something like that. They look like they're made out of like some kind of shell material. And they're mostly all the same. So that is my Hematite cardigan by Lise Mulch. And it was also a very, very simple knit. It was super easy, super duper easy. And it went by pretty quick. The yarn itself, of course I love because I made it, and I wouldn't make it if I didn't love it. This base is amazing. It's a non-superwash, so as are most of my sweaters. I don't really do this on purpose, but I have noticed that most of the sweaters that I've made for myself are out of non-superwash yarn, which I really enjoy, so yay. And, okay, that's it. Hematite, love it. My next finished object, I have a few again this week. It's crazy, I don't know what's happening. So my next finished object are my knee-high socks. And here's one of them. This is some nomadic yarns in the Dobby's a Free Elf colorway, and they're knee-highs. They're scrunched down on my sock blocker right now because my sock blockers are not knee-high, but here's the other one. And I love this yarn so very much. And I am super, super happy with how these came out. This is another one. I don't know where my extra yarn is, but this, I used almost the whole entire 100 gram skein for this, and I'm really excited about that. I love not having leftovers. I mean, it just makes me so happy to use like all of my yarn. I love it so much. And I've been on a knee-high sock kick this year. I've made a few already, and I'm kind of just experimenting as I go with the fit and how much yarn I use. They have all fit really quite well so far, which is really lucky because, like I said, I'm just kind of experimenting. These ones, I knew I could get a little more length out of them, out of 100 grams. I have a really small foot. I wear a size US 5.5 shoe, so, and I have skinny legs. So I can get a pair of knee highs out of 100 grams. And with this pair, I wanted to stretch it to see how long I could really get them and not go over yardage. So I made these probably, I don't know, a tiny bit longer than I think is normal. And normally my knee-high socks go up to right under my knee, and I think these ones do that also, but just a little more loosely. They don't have to stretch all the way up. They'll kind of sit right under my knee, and I can also kind of scrunch them down a tiny bit if I want to. So I'm really, really happy with how these came out. I had a teeny tiny bit of yarn left over, just a super tiny bit. So I was so happy about that. If I haven't mentioned it yet, this is Nomadic Yarns. I think this is the Twisty Sock Base, and it's the Dobby's a Free Elf colorway. It is like such a cool colorway. I love it so much. So it's this beautiful self-striping. What I do when I knit my self-striping socks is I cast on with the German Twisted Cast On 64 stitches. I do a 2x2 rib, and then after I get to the point where my calf starts to decrease in size, I'll decrease every like 10 rounds or something like that from 64 stitches to 56 stitches, which is my normal sock stitch count that I use. And then I do a heel flap and gusset, because that's my very favorite heel. It fits me so well. I love it. I don't necessarily do anything for stripe management on self-striping socks. If you can see here, it's all, you know, wonky. And I actually really like that. I don't care about stripe management. And then my toe is my very favorite rounded toe with the Kitchener finish, which if you're interested in seeing how to do, it's a toe that I kind of made up. I kind of mishmashed a couple different types of toes that I know about, and created this toe, which fits me the best out of any toe I've ever knit on any sock. And I have instructions for the way I do that in my Pandora Socks project page on Ravelry, which I will link to in the show notes in case you're interested in doing it yourself. I've only written it up for the 56 stitch count because that's my size, but I have done it before in 48 stitch, which is what I do sport weight socks on, and 64 and 72, I think. I've done it in all those sizes, and I really do want to write up how to do this toe in those sizes as well, so hopefully someday I will. It's really similar. So I'm so happy with these socks. I really, really like them. I love this yarn. Ashley of Nomadic Yarns dyes just super beautiful self-striping yarn. And that's it. That's them. I really, really like them. I, of course, have new socks on the needles now, but I will show you those in a little bit. So, finished object number 2. Finished object number 3 is a big one. I'm super excited about it. I can't believe I've been finishing this much stuff. It's crazy. I think kind of the cause of it is that since I'm kind of pretty pregnant, I've been like allowing myself to spend my weekends a little more than normal being lazy and just kind of hanging around and knitting and not like, I don't know, usually my weekends are full of like dyeing for the shop and going out and doing things like in nature. I'm a big hiker and a bicyclist, and going out to like, I don't know, just going out and doing things fun on the weekends is kind of a big part of my life, but not lately. I've been letting myself just kind of lounge at home on the weekends and like do nothing and have fun and knit and watch podcasts. So I think that's where all this is coming from, which has been really awesome. I like it. So anyway, my third and final finished object for the week is my Summertide shawl. And this is a shawl pattern by Helen Stewart, who is Curious Handmade, who designs amazing shawl patterns. And this was one of her mystery knit-alongs from a while ago, and I really love it. So there it is. It's a crescent-shaped shawl. This is what I have left over. So the yarns that I used were Wool and Vine yarns in the Paranormal colorway for the top or main color. And this is how much I have left over, so I've got quite a bit of this. The contrast, or the bottom lace color, I used quite a bit more of in this shawl, which was nice. And it is Yarn Experiments in her single ply superwash merino and stellina base, and this is called Night Dame. And I really, really like how this shawl came out a lot. I think these two colors go really, really nicely together. I really love the lace on this thing, and I love it. So it was super fun to knit. It's got this big garter section to start off with, which of course I always think is super fun. All of the lace panels on this shawl are different, and they're really, really pretty. I really like how it came out. Helen Stewart shawls are always really fun to work on and really beautiful at the end. She's just amazing. So this was a really nice 2-color shawl. I knew I wanted to use these 2 yarns together because I thought they would look really good together. And this was the clear winner for a pattern. So I'm super happy that this is done. This is kind of my first shawl that I've made in a while. The last shawl that I made before this was the Marled Magic, I think, which is, you know, a super huge, like, scrappy shawl. And so I don't even remember what shawl I made before that. But shawls have been kind of sparse for me here and there, so I was really, really happy to get back into this one. It was a lot of lace, which I really enjoyed. And it is done, and now I can wear it, and I'm super happy. And now I really want to get another shawl on the needles. So I don't know what yet. We'll see. I've been kind of looking around. I'm tempted to do another Stephen West shawl because I have a bunch of Stephen West patterns now. If you watched my favorites last week, I bought both of his West Knits Best Knits books, and one is all about shawls. So I don't know. I've been really tempted by the Vertices Unite shawl, which is kind of making its rounds. People are knitting that one right now, and I love it. And something I love about it is it reminds me a lot of the Marled Magic shawl in shape and construction. It doesn't have all of the texture changes, but it looks, other than that, really similar to the Marled Magic, and I really, really enjoyed knitting on that because of the construction. So I don't know, I'm super tempted to make that, but I also kind of want to do a non-Stephen West shawl. I kind of want to do, like, I don't know, I guess a more standard-y kind of shawl. I don't know. I'm torn. I'm super torn on what to do next. But this was super fun, and I can't wait to wear it. I love wearing crescent-shaped shawls. I do wear them. Typically, I wear all of my shawls most of the time like this. So I fold it in half like that. I take it, put it around my neck, I take the end, wrap it through the front here, and I wear it like this. That's pretty much my favorite way to wear a shawl. It's kind of scarf-like, and it works best for me. And crescent-shaped shawls work really, really well for it. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. FO parade over. Now I have got some works in progress to show you. Let's start out with my new sock cast on, and I have got this living in my Emerald Fibers project bag, which I'm in love with. And I will link to her shop in the show notes because her project bags are really, really gorgeous. So I purchased some, oops, dropped them on the floor. I purchased some Mondim yarn from Retrozaria quite a while ago, and I cast it on. So this is the skein. It's so, so gorgeous. I love it so much. I fell in love with this yarn as soon as I saw it. I saw it on somebody's Instagram feed when they bought it. I can't remember who, but I like almost immediately went over to their website and bought a couple skeins myself because I fell in love with it. So here's the tag. It is Mondim by Retrozaria, and they are a yarn shop and yarn producer out of Portugal. And this is 100% Portuguese wool, non-superwash sock yarn. And I really, really like it. The colorway that I have is color 207. These colorways for this particular yarn just go by numbers. This is 207, and it's just so pretty. It's pink and like a light mint and a blacky gray and this kind of purpley mauve. And I just fell in love with it so much. I really, really like the feel of it. It's woolly feeling. Like I said, it's 100% Portuguese wool. It's non-superwash, and I just adore it. And I'm totally okay with all of those things for socks. I don't have a problem with socks that are 100% wool, meaning no nylon, and I also don't care that it's non-superwash. So here is my sock so far. I love how it's knitting up so much. In the skein, I think probably just because it's skeined up in this style of skein, I think I expected it to be a self-patterning or semi-self-striping, kind of like Regia, but it is not. The colors are a little more like a variegated, so they pool, and depending on your stitch count, they'll pull in different ways. I remember when Lindsay of Lost and Fond knit her pair of these socks, she had the same yarn. Hers pulled much differently than mine. They actually, I think, had like more of a flashing pooling effect. If I remember correctly, I saw them on her Instagram a long time ago. And mine is pooling in more of a like pseudo striping way. And I really like it. I like it a lot. I'm so happy with how it's coming out. And I am knitting these on my size 1 Chiaogu mini twist interchangeable needles, which are my very favorite sock needles of all time. Highly recommend them. So this is my, I think this is my first pair of non-knee-high socks for 2018. Super crazy. But I decided to go back to regular length socks just because it felt like it. So because they're just regular socks, I cast on 56 stitches with a German twisted cast on, which is a cast on that I learned from Becky Sorensen of the Stringing It Together podcast. She's also known as Soprano Knits. She is an amazing knitwear designer, and when I knit one of her sock patterns, that's the cast on that she called for. And ever since then, ever since I learned it from that, I use it for not only all my sock cast-ons, but like all my cast-ons ever, because I love it so much. I noticed this about myself. I can't even remember how to do a regular long tail cast-on because I'm so used to doing the German twisted cast-on now, which is pretty funny. But anyway, so German twisted cast-on, 56 stitches. I do a 2x2 ribbing for the cuff and then go into stockinette. I've got my little bee progress keeper from Beth of Beehive Yarns. And oh, I'm just super in love with it. This yarn feels amazing. I love it so much. It has that natural sock yarn feel. Picture kind of a Regia or an Opal, and it's even a little more, I want to say lanolin-y. So kind of picture those workhorse sock yarns, but it feels different, and you know, a big difference is that those are superwash, they have nylon. This is non-superwash, it doesn't have nylon. It does feel like there's a teeny bit of lanolin in it still, which I really like. It's kind of got that stickiness. I feel like this would be really, really good yarn for color work. I've gone back to the Retrosario website, which I will link to in the show notes, and you should totally check out because they have amazing yarn. I've gone back to that website so many times since I bought this yarn and just like almost bought more yarn for so many different things. I want to make a sweater out of this yarn, and I think it would be really good for color work. It's fingering weight, and their color range for this is kind of like, they have these kind of variegated skeins in different colors, but they also have solid colors, and they also have these like single color speckle kind of colors. They almost, it's like marled. It's like two different colors marled together in a skein kind of. I think this would be really nice for some color work. And I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm thinking. I have no idea. I want to buy all of this yarn though, seriously. So I just love these colors. I love how the patterning's coming up. I'm super into these socks. I love them. And I am knitting these socks for Jillian of the Good Witch Knits podcast. Her knit along, and it's just a vanilla knit along, I think. The vanilla sock along. And that is running right now, so I'm knitting it for that knit along. If you haven't seen Jillian's podcast yet, I totally think you should go check it out. She's the Good Witch Knits, and I will link to her in the show notes too. She is somebody that I met at Stitches West and had such a fun conversation with, and she's got an awesome podcast. So I'm taking part in her knit along with some vanilla socks because they're my favorites. Again, it's living in my beautiful Emerald Fibers bag, which I'm just so in love with right now. So socks, hooray. They're a little bit too big, like the skein's a teeny bit too big for the bag, but I'm smashing it in there anyway because I like it and I want to. My next work in progress is my Hansel hat, and that's living in my Gas Lise project bag that I made for myself last Halloweenish, probably. And the inside, I'm pretty proud of, is this really cool like jewel spiderweb fabric. I love it. So my Hansel hat is being knit as a baby blanket for my baby, who is going to be coming into the world in the next few months here. And this is what I have so far. It's a big triangle. It's a small triangle, but it's a bigger triangle than what I had last week. And the Hansel hat is a hat pattern by Gudrun, Johnston. And I have wanted to knit this pattern. Oopsie, I dropped a stitch. I have wanted to knit this pattern for a pretty long time. It's been in my library and in my queue for a pretty long time, and I was really excited to cast it on. The yarns that I'm using, so this main yarn is Moonstone Dyeworks in the Natural Merino base, which is the same base as my sweater. And it is not in a colorway. It is undyed. So this is just straight from the mill, and I love it. The color that I am going to use for the lace edging or border is a gradient, which is not what the pattern calls for. The pattern calls for using several different colors in like a striping effect to do the lace border. But I wanted to use stash, and I thought it would look really good with this gradient, which you can't really see. This is like a bad representation because I have started to knit something out of it a long time ago when I first got it, frogged it, and then just kind of wrapped all the yarn around it. So I'll kind of try to do this. It starts with this like taupey brown and then goes into like a silver gray, and then it goes into this pink. And this is Nunuba. Is it Nunuba? Nunaba. It's Nunaba yarns, and they are a hand dyer out of Australia that uses white gum wool, and this is the Saint Emilion colorway. Thank you again to the viewer who told me that's probably what it was. So I'm really excited to use it. I've had this yarn in my stash for a very long time. I bought it for a specific project. It didn't work out, and I've been looking for an excuse to use it. I've got 2 skeins of this same gradient, so I'll have plenty of yarn to use if this isn't enough for the whole border. And I really like it. I like working on this thing so much because it's just garter with increases and stuff at the edges, and I'm just going to be making a giant square for a while. So I've really been enjoying it. I thought it might be kind of boring just working with the plain kind of naturally cream colored yarn, but I really like it. I'm knitting this on a size 8 Haya Haya Sharp from my interchangeable Haya Haya set, which is the recommended needle size. I've got it on like a 24-inch cable right now, but I think I'm going to go up to a 32-inch soon because we're stretching the limits of this cable length. And I did just drop a stitch earlier, so it's probably a good time to switch. Probably. So that is my next thing that I've been working on. And I'm really excited to get to the border. I can't wait. I've seriously lusted over that pattern for so long. I'm really excited to be making it right now. My last work in progress for knitting is a new cast on. It is living in my Fat Squirrel Fibers project bag, which reminds me, Amy Beth of the Fat Squirrel Speaks podcast, who makes these project bags, she also just finished a Hansel hat, and hers is freaking gorgeous. So that was exciting to see. I think she knit hers at a Brooklyn Tweed loft, and it's so... Anyway, so I cast on a new sweater. It is not the sweater that I was working on last week. I still have that one, but I did not work on it this week because I've been obsessed with this one. Apparently, now I am a 2 sweater at a time kind of girl because that's how things have been going for me lately. And I am super enjoying it. I am super proud of myself because the other sweater that I'm working on right now, which is a Hokey Locatelli pattern called Star something. But I'm using the wool yarn that I purchased at Stitches West in February of this year. I purchased a sweater quantity, cast it on like a few weeks ago for that sweater. And the other sweater quantity I bought at Stitches West is this, and now I have cast it on for a sweater. I am so proud of myself. So this is Barrett Wool Company Home, which is their worsted weight yarn. It's in the Folkestone colorway, and Barrett Wool Company is Susan B. Anderson's wool company, and I bought this yarn from her directly because she was there at the booth at Stitches West, and I got to meet her, and it was so much fun. I bought 4 skeins of this yarn, and I'm so in love with it. So the sweater that I'm making out of it is the Ramona cardigan, and I fell in love with this cardigan when I saw Anna of the Dunkelgrün podcast making it. She made one out of I think it was some Shetland Aran weight yarn, and I just loved it so much. It's so simple and good looking, and I just loved it. So I put it in my queue when I saw her knit it, and when I was looking for patterns for this yarn, I thought it would be really good. Now this is a worsted weight yarn, and the pattern does call for Aran. And if you look into the pattern more, it calls for an Aran/bulky weight. So my gauge was definitely different, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But here's the cake that I'm currently using, and it's just such nice yarn. This is my first time using Barrett Wool Company, and I love it. I really do. So I have been working like a crazy lot on this. I cast it on, I want to say, less than a week ago, and here's where I am. So I cast it on, I knit the raglan increases, I separated the sleeves, and now I just did that like a row ago. So now I'm at the point where I'm just working on the body. And this raglan cardigan did go more the way that I am used to, where you do the raglan increases, and when you're done with the raglan increases, you are at the correct length to separate for the sleeves, so there's no knitting straight. So I was really happy about that. Now my gauge is off for this thing. Since I'm using a worsted weight, I swatched on 2 different size needles. I swatched on a size 9, which is what the pattern calls for, and on a size 8, which I think is a little more standard to this yarn, this particular yarn. Here are my swatches. Here's the swatch on the 9. And here's the swatch on the 8s. They're really similar. They are very similar. I got so I got half a stitch less per inch than the pattern calls for on both of these. The stitches per inch for both of these needle sizes came out the same. But the row gauge came out different. So the row gauge on the 9s came out the same as called for in the pattern, and the row gauge on the 8s came out a little, shorter, smaller than called for in the pattern. And I really like the fabric actually on both, but I decided to go with the size 9 needles. I like the fabric, and the row gauge being the same as what's called for in the pattern was really nice, because then I didn't have to do any math with the yoke length. So I was super happy about that. So that worked out really well. The only thing that's different is that my stitch count, stitches per inch, is smaller than recommended. So what I'm doing is I would normally do the smallest size, and I'm doing instead the second smallest size, which I think is an extra small, because I think this cardigan pattern goes down to an extra small. So that's what I'm doing. I think it's going to work out pretty well. And yeah, I'm using size 9s. Let me make sure about that. Yep, size 9s. Good job. On my Knit Picks interchangeable needles. And I really am enjoying this cardigan pattern so far. Here's my Tilted Planet Progress Keeper. It's one of my favorite progress keepers. I really like it. And I cannot believe how fast this thing is knitting up. And that's because it's worsted weight. It's on big needles. It's really easy stockinette, so that's been awesome. This pattern's really cool. It's got this really nice little detail on the raglan, and I think on the side seams too, where it's like just a line of a single garter stitch that goes down all of the seams for it. Seams, they're faux seams. They're not real seams, because it goes down the side as well. And I really love working on this so far. I'm like obsessed with it. I've kind of been obsessively knitting on just this for the past couple days, and I am enjoying it so much. I really like it. So again, this is the Ramona cardigan, and that is a pattern by Elizabeth Smith, who I think is the Brown Stitch on Ravelry and Instagram. So I think check out her patterns on Ravelry. I was never really that exposed to her before this cardigan, before I saw it on Anna's podcast. And in looking at this cardigan, I looked at a bunch of her other sweater patterns too, and she is I really like her patterns. I really like her sweater patterns. She's got another version of the Ramona that's in lighter weight yarn. I think it's in a sport weight. And if you remember, I have my featherweight cardigan that I have been considering ripping out for a long time, and it's knit in sport weight yarn, and I was considering to myself re-knitting it in that pattern. I don't know, we'll see. That's far off. That's really far off. But I love this yarn. I love the pattern so far. This yarn is a 100% wool, non-superwash. It's 100% American wool. And it's just, the feel of it is wonderful. It's that kind of natural non-superwash feeling that is really buttery soft. It's amazing. It also, to me, feels like, I feel like the only word I know how to describe it with is lanolin-y, but I don't even necessarily know if that's why it feels that way. I don't know if this is actually lanolin-y or if that's just the only way I know how to describe this particular feeling. It's almost sticky, but not in like a rough sticky. It's like I don't know. Yeah. You know, I was watching the last episode of the Fiber Trek podcast, and she spent a lot of time talking about this, about descriptive words for wool and how the term rustic is really inadequate at describing wool, but it's an easy word to access a whole broad terminology of language for a really broad spectrum of wools and how they feel. And I've struggled with that myself because I don't know how to describe, descriptors for the way wool feels for some reason are completely lacking in my vocabulary. I have no idea how to describe two different kinds of rustic wools that feel completely different, but both just still feel really natural. I don't know. It's hard. But this is on the spectrum of natural and rustic feeling, but like buttery, lanolin-y soft. Kind of. I love it. It feels wonderful. If you have a chance to squish it, do it. It's beautiful. I love it. I would really like to use some more Barrett Wool Company yarns in the future, because I was lucky enough to be able to touch them all at their whole line at Stitches West. They have a worsted spun line and a woolen spun line, and they're both so beautiful. I love them. So that's my sweater. It's my Ramona cardigan, and I love it. I love it so much. I have a feeling this thing is going to be done in no time, because it's just, it's big and it's easy and it's fun, and I love it. And that is it. That is all my works in progress and all of my FOs. All my knitting for the past 2 weeks has been so much fun. And I've been finishing so many things. It's been really, really satisfying. I like it. Anyway, since we're done with my knitting, why don't we move on to my spinning? I have spinning. I spun some yarn. I didn't spin any yarn. I spun some singles. So I have been, for the longest time, working on one single spinning project, and I'm still getting through it. So I am working on what I'm hoping is going to be like 10 ounces. I need like 3 skeins worth or 4 skeins worth or something like that of bulky weight yarn, because I want to do a hand spun Asana wrap, I think it's called. No, Sonder shawl. The Sonder shawl is a bulky weight shawl pattern by Helen Stewart, and I've been wanting to make a hand spun version of it. So I've been working on this for a while, and I've been working on it super slowly. So I finally finished my first braid, which is this, and it's so fantastic and bright and wonderful. This is Spun Right Round, who is a hand dyer on Etsy, who is just the best. I love her. And this is 100% Rambouillet in the Lulu colorway. And this is the entire braid. My plan is to ply it with this, which is Julie Spins in the Princess colorway. There's her tag. And this is Falkland. And the previous one is 4 ounces. This is 6.5 ounces. And this is pretty much what it looks like. Pinks and grays and some purples. And so one ply is going to be this. The other ply is going to be that variegated neon. And I have gotten started on that. And I really like it so far. The Spun Right Round Polworth, it's Polworth, right? Is that what I said? Rambouillet. The Spun Right Round Rambouillet neon bobbin that I just showed you was really nice to spin. It was really kind of standardly smooth, comb top, soft. This, though, is a little stickier. It's also comb top, but it's Falkland. The crimp is crazy on this. It's just like, it just wants to like hold on to itself as I spin it, which is making spinning thick singles really nice and really fast and really easy. And I really like it. So I'm hoping this goes by pretty quick. And because this is 6.5 ounces and that is 4 ounces, I do have some supplemental fiber that I will spin on its own bobbin and kind of do ply this with the Julie Spins as a supplemental skein. So if I run out, which I think I probably will, I'll be able to dip into this. And the colors are definitely different, but it was kind of the closest thing I could find to match that neon stuff. So this is what I'll spin as like a supplemental single for the rest of the Julie Spins singles. And this, I don't know what it is because I ended up giving, this is just some of the 4 ounce braid. I ended up giving the rest of it away to a friend who is learning how to drop spindle. And I also gave her the tag, so I don't remember what it is. But it's beautiful. I have a feeling it's Spun Right Round, but I don't know. I also have a feeling that it's Polworth. So anyway, that's my spinning. I am still slowly getting through this bulky spin, which is crazy because bulky should be fast, but it's so much. It's like I'm doing, I don't know why I can't do math in my head. I'm not that kind of person, but I keep trying anyway. 4, 6.5 is 10.5 plus like 12. It's like 12.5 ounces of fiber and yarn. So it's a lot. It's going to be like 3 bobbins-ish at the end. So yeah, that's going along. And I'm spinning that on my Shocked Ladybug, which is my spinning wheel. And I love it. I love my spinning wheel. I'm a very sloppy spinner. I spin combination short forward draft and short backward draft in combination with kind of a backward long draw if I feel like it. So like seriously, super sloppy. My singles are all over the place. And I'm fine with that. I am not a technical spinner at all. I like it when my hand spun's a little unpredictable. So that's my spinning, and I'm really, really happy I got some of that done these past couple weeks. It was really fun sitting down to my wheel again. And I'm pretty sure I was inspired to do that by Isabel of Fluffy Fibers. In her last episode, or one of her last episodes, she was talking about spinning and how she hadn't spun for a while, and she kept walking by her like lonely spinning wheel sitting in the living room, and she finally decided to just sit down and use it. And that same exact thing was happening to me, so she kind of inspired me to sit down just at my wheel and just do it for a little while, and it was really, really fun. And I had a great time for a little while, and then I stopped, and I haven't now for a little while. But hopefully I'll get back to it again soon, because I really do want to knit that shawl. And I have to do it before I lose inspiration for it, because that'll happen. I'll get like super into something and really want to make it. And then if I don't make it soon enough, I'll forget about it and not care anymore. So I think I'm still going to care about it once this is done. So that is it for all the crafty stuff. I will now move on to shop update. I am going to be having a shop update tomorrow, which is Saturday, April 28th. It is going to be at 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, and it's going to be in my Etsy shop. You can get to that through moonstonedyeworks.com. Moonstone Dyeworks is the shop update that I'm talking about. So moonstonedyeworks.com, you can get to the Etsy shop through there. There is a link to it in the down bar here. And I hope you can make it if you're interested. This is a special update. It is my 1-year anniversary update. I've had Moonstone Dyeworks going for 1 whole year, and that was just so amazing and exciting and mind-blowing to me. I decided to do something a little special for it, and I will show you what that is right now. So I dyed up a special anniversary colorway called Diamond Dancer. And that is because Moonstone Dyeworks' birthday is at the end of April, and the April birthstone is Diamond. And my take on Diamond is Diamond Dancer. And if you haven't heard it, it is a song by Bill Callahan, who I used to be pretty into. It's Diamond Dancer is an amazingly good song. It's my favorite song by him. And I recommend it. I will link to it in the show notes. And if you want to listen to it and check out some of this yarn, that is my anniversary colorway, is Diamond Dancer. And here it is. I really, really like it. So I have got it on 3 bases this time. This is my natural merino base. This is the non-superwash Falkland organic merino. And it's pinks and teals and some kind of oceany blues. Here it is on BFL sock. And I really, really like it. And here it is on Stellina sock. So that's Diamond Dancer. This is my anniversary color for Moonstone Dyeworks' first birthday. And the other special thing I did for it is I came up with a kind of birthday party mini skein set. So I will be having these up in the shop tomorrow. This is the mini skein set that is in celebration of the Moonstone Dyeworks birthday. And kind of the inspiration for these are all new colorways. The inspiration for these were if Moonstone Dyeworks were to have a birthday party, what I would want there. So I'm gonna go through each new colorway for you. This first one is a teal and black speckle. And this one I'm calling Go-Go. And the reason why Go-Go fits into Moonstone Dyeworks' first birthday is because I really like dancing. And my very favorite song to dance to is Wake Me Up Before You Go-Go by Wham. So that song needed to be at Moonstone Dyeworks' first birthday party. So this one is Go-Go. And this one is called Imbibe. And this one is like a hot pink magenta speckle and black. And this one's called Imbibe because there will, of course, be a lot of imbibing at our birthday party. Not for me right now, but later I will imbibe enough to make up for it. And the next one, of course, at Moonstone Dyeworks' first birthday party, there will be magical creatures. So this one's Magical Creatures. And this is another black speckle. This one's got some greens and browns and pinks and purples. It's very foresty, magical foresty, not regular foresty. This one is called Chiffon. I have never had anything in real life, I don't think, made out of chiffon. But at Moonstone Dyeworks' birthday party, I'm wearing chiffon. So that's that one. And then the last new colorway for this mini skein set is Full Moon, because the party will be held under a full moon, of course. I think this is like my favorite. I love it so much. This is a really subtle gray that is mostly, I don't know if you can see on camera, but it's pink tones and purple tones, of course, because it's me. And so these are all brand new colorways for the Moonstone Dyeworks anniversary birthday party. So this will be sold as a set, and this is all the mini skein sets are going to be on the Stellina sock base. And so you'll get 5 20-gram minis, which equals 100 grams. So this is the equivalent of 1 full skein of yarn. And I really like it. I like all of these new colorways so much that I'm pretty sure possibly they are all going to become regular shop colorways. And it's funny, I had like just like a mad inspiration for all of these colorways, and I really love how they came out. So these sets will be in the shop. They will be sold as whole sets. And then Diamond Dancer will also be available tomorrow. So if you're interested in coming, I hope you can make it. Again, it's tomorrow, which is Saturday, April 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The original, very first Moonstone Dyeworks shop update was on a Saturday, April 29th, 1 year ago. Yay! I think that's really cool. I'm really excited that we're at 1 year, and I've been loving it so much. And I really, truly appreciate everybody who has supported the shop and my yarn, and who has used it and enjoyed it. And I just am super grateful. And thank you. And I hope to see you there tomorrow. And one more thing to close out this episode is my favorite section. I have one thing to share with you because I did make one purchase, and it's a big one. I purchased a whole set of Looka interchangeable needles. Yeah, I did it. So I have currently, before this, 2 sets of interchangeable needles, of full sets of interchangeable needles. One is my High Sharps, which I love and adore, and they're my favorites. The other is my Knit Picks wooden needles. And those were my very first serious needle purchases back a long time ago when I first started growing up into a knitter with a capital K. I purchased that set from Knit Picks, and it has served me well over the years, but it was time for a new wooden set. My most used needles in that set were just wearing down really hard. There's like a veneer or something, like a coating on the wood with the Knit Picks, and when you use them too much, it wears and they start getting rough and almost splintery, some of them at the tips. And I was just kind of getting sick of using them, so I decided to get a new wooden set. And I knew I had tried the Lucas before, and I knew I liked them, so I bought the set. I did it. And here is what it looks like. I got the traditional driftwood kind of needle color, and these are, I think, made out of birch wood, and they just feel very nice. I really do enjoy them. So this set ranges from a 4 to a 17, a US 4 to a US 17, which is a huge range. I've never had needles that big in my stash before, which is going to be really nice, especially when I knit the Sonder shawl, because I'm going to need some bulky size needles, and I don't have any. Didn't until now. And it comes with a variety of cables and stuff. My only boo-hoo about this set is that they only come in 5-inch tips, which was the same as my Knit Picks, which is fine. It's a tiny bit longer than I like. One of the reasons why I like my Haya set, interchangeable set, so much is because they're 4-inch tips, and they are perfect for me. I love that size so much. And the thing about that set is there's a cable in that set for a 16-inch needle, a cable that'll make with your needle 16 inches. Perfect size for hats and baby garments. I love 16-inch needles a lot. These only come in 5 inches, and they don't make a cable small enough to make these a 16-inch needle, which to me is a huge bummer. I did consider getting the 3.5-inch tips, which they do have. The 3.5-inch tips come in a smaller range of needle sizes, and they're 3.5 inches. So they're a little shorter than what I would like. They do, though, fit with a cord that can give you a 16-inch size needle. That same cord, which I don't know what the actual cord length is, I think if you put them on these needles, it obviously makes more than 6 inches. I mean, 16 inches, it'll be like, what, 18? I don't know, something like that. I kind of forget the specifics of it, but pretty much you cannot make these into a 16-inch needle, is my understanding. If I'm wrong, definitely let me know. If I'm wrong, I would be really excited to know that. But I'm pretty sure you can't. So to me, that's kind of a big drawback, but not enough to make me not buy them. I really value having the ability to make a 16-inch needle. But you know what? I can on my Haya still, so if I need something like that, I will just use those. I know that I could buy fixed 16-inch circular needles in anything that I wanted. I don't particularly like buying fixed needles though, because I've got these 2 interchangeable sets that are my go-tos. I want them to be able to be used for everything, you know what I mean? Because I have them and that's what they're for, but it's okay. And like I said, I can use my Highs. If I really, really want a 16-inch wood needle, maybe I'll splurge and buy another single fixed needle. I don't know. But so that's the only drawback to me about this set. Other than that though, I haven't used any of my needles from this set yet. I do plan on putting my Ramona cardigan on these pretty much straight away. So, because I just got these in the mail yesterday. I'm really, really excited about them. They're super beautiful. They're really smooth. They're really hard, which I like a lot. I like that they're wood, but that they're still really hard. Like when you click them together, like that's a substantial sound. And I really dig that. So I'm excited about these needles. They are very popular, and after trying the single needle that I purchased, I was really, really happy with how it was knitting. Is that the right? I don't know, whatever. I was really happy with it and I liked it a lot. I did break it, but that's a whole different thing. And the Looka Needle Company was super nice and did offer to replace it. But now I just have a whole set, so. And now I have like one extra needle in case one of them ever does break again. And I know that if one of these breaks, they'll probably replace it, which is great. You know, I like a company that does that. So I highly recommend these needles. You don't have to buy a whole set. If you want to just try one, you can buy one interchangeable tip with one interchangeable cord and kind of slowly build as you go. But I really like them. I do really, really like them. Okay, so that is it for this week, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I am gonna go off and edit now and knit. I'll probably knit on my socks, which I'm really excited about because I love them. And I hope you're having a really great week. I hope your weather has been treating you well. I know it's weird everywhere, but I hope you're enjoying whatever's happening around you at the moment. And if not, I hope you're knitting to make yourself feel better because it is really good for that. And if you enjoyed the episode, which I hope you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you have not yet to be kept up to date on future episodes. Join the Ravelry group. That is where you can join in on the knit along that is almost over, but there are some fantastic prizes to be won, so check that out. And I hope you can make the shop update tomorrow and join us for our Moonstone Dyeworks birthday party. Have fun and stay awesome. Bye, guys.